Welcome to Inkroot Echoes. These are the reflections and process notes from the center of the work, brought to life for the long stretches at the desk. This reflection is supported by the LumeCube Edgelight 2.0. When I am working on the architecture of a story, I need a walk space that allows the rest of the world to fall into the shadows. This lamp provides a diffused, flicker-free light that lets me focus entirely on the page. It is a tool for precision and for finding the right atmosphere to let the work breathe. You can find the link in the show notes. As an Amazon associate, I earn a commission if you use that link to shop. Immersive storytelling depends on what stays off the page. The reader senses the depth of a world long before they can articulate why, feeling the shift in air pressure before noticing the height of the ceiling. This is the quiet truth of the unseen, and how it carries more narrative force than the visible. Drafting the unseen is the discipline that makes this possible. It functions like the physics of resonance, where a single struck note vibrates in sympathy with structures the listener cannot see. A scene becomes convincing not because every detail is rendered, but because the writer has shaped the pressure of a larger world around it. The reader feels the tension of what exists beyond the frame, and that tension steadies the moment like a hidden armature. The first layer of the technique begins with implication. A character enters a kitchen and pauses at the faint scorch mark on the stove. The writer does not recount the fire, the argument, or the hurried cleanup. The scorch mark alone carries the weight of an event the reader has not witnessed, and the mind begins to construct its own scaffolding. Or imagine a street at dusk where a shopkeeper pulls down metal shutters with a practiced motion. The sound of the rattling slats tells the reader that this ritual has been repeated for years, that the neighborhood has its own rhythms and its own threats. The writer has not described the history of the place, yet the reader feels it in the body. This layer works because the sensory detail is specific enough to anchor the moment while remaining open enough to invite interpretation. The reader becomes a collaborator, filling the unspoken spaces with their own logic and intuition. The writer guides without announcing the guidance, shaping the experience through absence rather than accumulation. The second layer deepens, the first by introducing contrast. The unseen becomes more potent when it interacts with what is present. A child's laughter in a courtyard means one thing when the surrounding buildings are intact, and another when half of them stand empty. The sound carries the echo of what used to be there. Or consider a character brushing dust from a windowsill in a house lived in for generations. The dust is ordinary, but the gesture is not. It suggests both continuity and erosion, the immediate pressed against the long arc of time. The writer allows the present to collide with the ancient, and the reader feels the collision without being instructed to. This contrast creates a layered sense of place. The reader perceives not only what the character sees, but also what the character unconsciously carries. A quiet room becomes charged when the reader senses the argument that happened there last winter. A forest path becomes uneasy when the reader notices the way the birds fall silent. The writer does not name the cause. The writer shapes the silence so the reader can feel its origin. The final technique is the most demanding and the most transformative. It requires the writer to draft entire histories, geographies, and private mythologies that will never appear on the page, yet will influence every gesture within it. This is the work of composing the unseen score beneath the visible melody. A character's hesitation before opening a door carries the weight of a childhood memory the writer has fully imagined but will never narrate. A city's political tension shapes the way strangers speak to each other, even if the story never names the governing council or the last election. The writer knows these things, and because the writer knows them, the reader feels them. This technique is not about hoarding information. It is about creating gravitational pull. The unseen world exerts force on the visible one, bending dialogue, shaping movement, altering the emotional temperature of a scene. The reader may not know why a character glances over their shoulder in a crowded market, but they trust that the writer does. That trust becomes the foundation of immersion. When a writer commits to this level of unseen drafting, the world gains dimensionality. The reader senses corridors they have not walked, seasons they have not witnessed, and stories that continue long after the scene ends. The visible becomes the smallest expression of a much larger whole. The way a single stone in a vaulted ceiling is only the final articulation of forces arranged far beyond it. This approach also protects the story from over-explanation. When the writer has built the unseen with care, they no longer feel compelled to name every mechanism. The world breathes on its own. The reader feels the pulse of it through the smallest details. The way a musician feels the resonance of a chamber through the vibration of a single string. The opening observation returns here with a deeper resonance. A world does not need to declare itself to be felt. It needs only the right absences, shaped with intention, so the reader can step into the story and sense the movement behind the scene, the quiet machinery that holds the visible world aloft. Thank you for listening to this episode of Incrude Echoes. Today's reflection was narrated by Julie using the words of Misty Hamilton Smith. If these notes help you navigate the unseen parts of your own work, I invite you to join the community at inkrootandmoonlight.com. Until next time, keep to the quiet of the work.